Hi everyone, and welcome to today's webinar on how to get started with LinkedIn automation and Dux Soup. This is part one. Today here with you, as always, we have webinar host Giles Garnett, the head of professional services, and on the live chat, Gantara Kuzmuskaite, the head of customer service. And at the end of the webinar, we will have a Q&A with Giles. Thank you so much for joining us today, and let's start our webinar.
Excellent. Hello and good morning, good afternoon or good evening to you wherever you may be in the world, and thank you once again for joining us in the latest of our series of Dux Soup webinars. My name is Giles, as Jin just mentioned, and I'm head of professional services here at Dux Soup, and Jin, who you just heard from, is our head of customer support. Been presenting these webinars for around 3 years now, so time flies when you're having fun. Today we're going to be doing part one of a two-part series of getting started with LinkedIn automation and Dux Soup, and we're going to be covering the basics of what LinkedIn automation is, what the different LinkedIn environments are, the different Dux Soup features and plans, and then why you should spend time on updating your LinkedIn profile. And then we'll also cover some of the basic features of Dux Soup in a demo and a few of the safety features. This is very much a starting from the beginning webinar with Dux Soup. Hopefully it's of value to all of our audience. While I'm talking and presenting, please raise any questions you have via the question box, and Jim will do her absolute best to answer those that are applicable. Any that are appropriate, I'll also try and cover at the end of the webinar if there's value for the others as well. Do try and keep your questions on topic. As always, the webinar today is being recorded and will be made available to you in the coming hours if you're registered and via our website or YouTube channel in the next 24 hours or so. So, before we go any further, let's have a look and see what we've got on the agenda today. What is LinkedIn automation? We'll cover that and just sort of explain that for anybody who's completely new to the topic. Which LinkedIn version is for you? We'll have a brief look at that as well. The importance of your profile, why you should spend time updating it and put some time and effort there. Dux Soup Starter, Pro and Turbo, the 3 different variants of Dux Soup that are available, the versions there that are available, and there's some of the features. And then we'll do a demo of some of those features and the safety functions of Dux Soup, why we can use Dux Soup to also help keep our account safe, our LinkedIn account safe. So what is LinkedIn automation? What do we mean by LinkedIn automation? Well, basically, this is the practice of using tools to automate actions on the LinkedIn platform that you would have otherwise performed manually. So with Dux Soup, this can include anything from visiting profiles, messaging connections, or sending connection requests, sending emails, even endorsing skills, etc. And this is one of the most important things about Dux Soup, is that it runs in your browser. It runs within. It's designed to run in Chrome, but it'll run with any Chrome compatible browser, and it mimics human behavior, essentially automating any action that's available on the LinkedIn platform that you're using. So on certain platforms, so regular LinkedIn, Sales Navigator and Recruiter, they all have slightly different features available and slightly different ways of interacting with your audience. So those buttons are available for Dux Soup to be able to be automated against. So that's how to think about it. Which LinkedIn variant? So Dux Soup is designed to perform on each of the 3 LinkedIn platforms. So standard LinkedIn, Sales Navigator and Recruiter. So what are each of these platforms, and why would anybody need anything other than the basic free LinkedIn? Now, I'm not going to give you a lecture on what each of these give you and what you should choose, but just to give you an idea, there's around 740 million individuals on LinkedIn at the moment, and if you've got a free LinkedIn account, that gives you access to all of that huge network. You have access to a huge amount of content, the ability for searching and searching for prospects and sending connection requests. There are limits if you've got a free account as to how many connection requests and messages you can send. LinkedIn do have what they call a fair usage policy. And yeah, many people use a free LinkedIn account with enormous degrees of success. If you're looking to scale up your LinkedIn lead gen activities, in the longer term, we see more and more people considering a paid account on the platform. One of those things, if you've got a paid account, you can always do more. The two most commonly referred to, and they equate to different platforms, are the Sales Navigator and Recruiter, as you see here on the page. There are various different pricing models available depending on where you are in the world and what your requirements are. But essentially, the headlines are: Sales Navigator gives you more extensive search and filtering options, provides more extensive results compared to regular LinkedIn. You can build lead lists, and you can also send in-mails. You get in-mail credits if you've got a premium product. With the Recruiter, it's very much designed for hiring and recruiting professionals, focused on helping you find job candidates. It is the more expensive end of the spectrum, but provides functions that may be relevant for your requirements. It's one of those things. You need to understand your business and what your lead generation activities are as to which LinkedIn variant is suitable for you. Dux Soup, the paid versions of Dux Soup are compatible with all three versions of LinkedIn. So we'll now jump to basically LinkedIn lead generation 101, if you like, your profile. What can you do before you spend any money to improve your chances of being successful with any candidates you choose to find on LinkedIn? Work on your profile. Put some effort in. Every time you do anything on LinkedIn, someone somewhere will get a notification. If you like, if you comment, if you endorse, or even just view a profile, someone will get a notification. And when they get a notification, they will see some information about you. What do they see? Well, they'll see your profile picture and a portion of your headline. So put some effort in. Make sure that you have a relevant and reasonably professional photograph. This puts kind of, it's all about building your reputation on the LinkedIn platform, and make sure you're making use of the background. So you see here on mine there, I've got my photograph, and then in the background, I've got an image there as well. I did a very quick, completely non-scientific check last night of some profiles, and I visited a couple of hundred profiles, I reckon. More than 50% of profiles did not have a background image. They are wasting that huge amount of real estate that's sitting there. Those that did, there was a huge amount of really good creativity, and the impact is really, really telling. You can really clearly illustrate what industry you're in, what organization you work for. The more striking the image, the more impact it'll have. It's as simple as that. We are, visually, we find humans find visual stimulation, very positive. So make sure that you have it, and make sure it's appropriate to your target audience. Other things to consider: don't be afraid to update your headline periodically. I'm working quite closely with somebody fairly recently, and while they were trying to recruit somebody, they had that in their headline: always looking for sales professionals. Be willing to be flexible. You see my headline there, it says, but if I go to the next page, there you are, you can see my headline a bit clearer there. Don't necessarily put your job title. Explain what services you provide. Explain what you do. Use keywords. All of these things can make you more approachable, and it's clearer what you're doing. As we just go back one. Oh, it won't let me. There we go, that way. As I mentioned there at the bottom, be active on LinkedIn. Comment, like, share, engage. Every time you do anything, people will see that, and people will have visibility of your profile, or the snippet of your profile. So make sure that you're doing that as well. In a minute, we'll have a look at my profile in a bit more detail, and there's other things that you can in there, experience, your other bits and pieces which are also important, endorsements, those kinds of things. So those are the things to think about when you're doing your profile. But so many people neglect this. They don't put a background image on, they don't update their headline, they just have financial advisor. Okay, yeah. Put more flesh on the bones so that people have something to go on. Okay, so we'll step back a little bit now. We've talked about what LinkedIn automation is, we've talked about our profile, and we've talked about the various versions of LinkedIn, the Recruiter, the Sales Navigator, and the Standard. But what's Dux Soup? So Dux Soup's a Chrome extension, compatible with other browsers, as I said, and it mimics human behavior on the LinkedIn platform. you select the list, and this is really important for the next slide, the list that you want Dux Soup to process, and then you get Dux Soup to run your chosen activities against that list. Relatively straightforward so far. It mimics human behavior. It clicks on the screen. It mimics the clicks of those mouse. So it's keeping your account as safe as possible by respecting the limits that LinkedIn have in place and making sure that we're not, breaking the system that LinkedIn have there. So the lists. What do I mean by a LinkedIn list? Well, basically, it's a list of LinkedIn profiles that Dux Soup recognizes. When you go to a page in LinkedIn, it's a list. You give it a second, the robot icon in the top right-hand corner will turn green, and Dux Soup will say, ready, at your service. So we're always looking for that icon to turn green, and then we know what's on the screen is a list of data that we can process. And it can include, and this is not exclusive, this is just a quick snippet, it can be a search result in regular LinkedIn, Sales Navigator, Recruiter. It can be a member of a list of group members. It could be people who've reacted to a post. It could be a lead list. It could be a project in Recruiter, etc., etc. But you can also create your own CSV files if you've got the URL or the Sales Navigator, the LinkedIn URL or the Sales Navigator URL. You can create your own custom lists to upload to Dux Soup. So lots of possibilities here. I think there are a couple of others as well. Page followers. I think if you're a company page admin and you've got page followers, you can also run it against that list. There's a few others as well. But there's actually, if you go to our blog posts, there's an article there which explains all the different lists that Dux Soup recognizes and runs against. So that's something. So you've got your list of data on the screen, then you ask Dux Soup to carry out your chosen action against that list. And that's essentially how the automation works. It just follows the data that's on the screen that you have presented for it. So what about the different Dux Soup versions and the different features? We did a webinar about this a month or two ago, Starter, Pro or Turbo. So very quickly, Starter works on regular LinkedIn and Sales Nav, and you can use it to auto visit profiles. And that is a zero cost version. The Pro version works on regular LinkedIn, on Sales Navigator, and in Recruiter. It allows you to visit, auto visit, invite, message prospects. You can tag, you can download your data. You define how much Dux Soup does and when, and everything's done kind of in real time in the browser. You see in the bottom right-hand corner the profiles being opened up and your chosen activity being executed. Turbo, if you install Turbo, or if you install Dux Soup for the first time, you get a free 14-day trial of Turbo. And this again works on regular LinkedIn, on Sales Navigator and Recruiter. It features all of the Dux Soup Pro features, of course, all of those are functions. But then on top of that, you have the ability to build and manage campaigns. You can enroll your prospects into those campaigns, and then it gives you access to the API, which opens up all sorts of possibilities regarding integrations with HubSpot, Pipedrive, Zapier, Make, and SharpSpring CRM, amongst other things. There's all sorts of possibilities there, and we will come on to that more in detail in part 2 of this webinar, which is in 2 weeks' time. But these are basically, hopefully gives you a snapshot. You've got the Starter, which is zero cost. The Pro version works out at around between, I think it's about $15 a month, that kind of money, and the Turbo version's about $50 a month. If you check the website from your computer, you'll see the latest pricing available there. It'll give you in the appropriate currency. So those are the 3 versions. Which one is for you? So the Starter is the low impact lead generation activity, auto visit, auto visit, auto visit. That's all you can do with it. With Pro, you have your semi-automated LinkedIn functions, the messaging, the visiting, the connecting, the endorsing, runs in real time. You define the list and you control and define the actions. Turbo, that's where you unlock all the fully automated lead gen activities. Gives you the campaign enrollment, the API access, the integration possibilities, etc., etc. And that's where you can really unlock the power of LinkedIn. So what I see, the real lead generation professionals are usually using something like Turbo alongside Sales Navigator. They really can maximize their outreach within the LinkedIn environment. We see other people using, depending on how much effort you're putting in, depending on what your requirements are, what the numbers are you're trying to hit. You know, it's perfectly acceptable to see people using the free version of LinkedIn as well as Pro or Turbo, and then, you know, adjusting the speed of their campaigns and their activities accordingly to match what sort of LinkedIn account they have. But you know, the real people, the people who really want to go and scale up, we see them using primarily Sales Navigator in conjunction with the Turbo product. So I now want to demonstrate a few things. I've been talking quite a long time. I'm aware that we're up against the deadline here. We've got a 30-minute webinar. I want to go through a few things here, some bits and pieces around what lists are, as we mentioned before, some of the basic features, how you visit and connect, etc., and a little bit about Dux Soup running safely on your LinkedIn environment, what I mean by that. And then also just to show you, we'll also touch on what notifications are and where you can see them and why that's important. That re-emphasizes why your profile is important. Maybe we'll start with that one straight away. So your profile, so let's go to my homepage. And I say it every time. Please feel free to send me an invite on LinkedIn. Please mention Dux Soup because then I know how you found me. But this is me on LinkedIn. This is my LinkedIn profile page. So actually, if we, yeah, so what you can see here, I've got my profile there, and I've got my background. Similarly, you know, I've visited many people over the recent past, and I just see they've got the blank background. It doesn't give me anything at all. You know, company owners, business owners who've not got a background, it's kind of wasted opportunity. All that real estate sitting there, you know, waiting to be used, and you know, even if it's just a color scheme, it just gives something to people. You see here, I've got my about, it explains what I do, etc., my experience, what my past jobs are, my endorsements, etc. All of those things help me to sort of, it's my adverts to the world of LinkedIn. So that's my profile. If I go to my homepage here, and if I go, for example, my notifications, now if I go to who's viewed my profile, I can go in there and see a little snippet of who's viewed my profile recently. And here you can see an example of, you know, the information that I see as people visit me. You see here what their names are, what they do, etc., etc. So that's the sort of information that you will see as people visit your profile and vice versa. So bear that in mind. You know, that snippet that I'm seeing here, that's what you would see, or that's what people would see of your profile if you visit them. You can, if you've got a premium account on LinkedIn, you can turn off those notifications. So you can visit people privately without them seeing your activity. But of course, if you're doing lead generation seriously, you want to see people you want people to see that you visited them. You want to make sure that you're visible out there and that all those people are getting that notification. So that's something to consider as well. So those are your notifications. Bear that in mind. So what I want to do is trigger something that's going to make my Dux Soup icon turn green and say at my service. So if I take this article here, for example, this is the example of a list. Here in a second, we'll see the Dux Soup, well, the icon's already turned green. There we go. It's now saying at your service. So I could now run my chosen automation against this list of 6 people if I wanted to. When I say my chosen automation, so if I had the Pro version of Dux Soup, I could now click on here and I can visit and connect or scan those profiles. Those are my basic options. If I've got Pro, if I've got Turbo, I could enroll those profiles into a campaign. If I want to unlock more of my options and see what my other options are during those auto visits, that's where I then click on my Dux Soup icon. I go to my options in the top right-hand corner. And these here are my options. This is kind of under the bonnet or under the hood of Dux Soup here. So this is where I can now define my additional activities that I want Dux Soup to carry out during my auto visit. So if I go back here, I've got my 6 people here. Well, maybe I just want to go and visit these people and I don't want to do anything else. Here I could send them a connection request with a connection request message. I could follow them while I'm visiting them in regular LinkedIn. If I was connected to them, I could disconnect from them if they were first degree connections. If I was visiting them in Sales Navigator, I could save them as a lead. I could save their profile as a PDF. I'm using standard LinkedIn. You'll see here against each of these options, it explains what's available against which platform. So for example, if I visited these people in Sales Navigator, I could send them an in-mail. So here, sending an in-mail during visits using Sales Navigator or Recruiter. Hopefully pretty clear here. If I had a list of first degree connections on my screen, now all of these I think are second and third, yeah, all these are all third degree connections, so this wouldn't be applicable. But if I had a list of first degree connections there, I could send those first degree connections a direct message during my auto visit. And during all of these activities, I can also use the Dux Soup tagging function. So here I've got the ability to give a label to each profile as I visit them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just tag some profiles with test. I'm going to, what else should we do? We'll follow them while I'm visiting them, because then we can see what we're doing. And that's all I'm going to do. I'm just going to visit a couple of profiles while we're doing that. Now, I can also define some skipping rules here. So I can say, but if certain criteria are met here, I can skip some profiles based upon some criteria here, and also based upon history. And this is where I want to come onto the safety features of Dux Soup. I can also control the speed and the behavior of the robot. So under throttling here, I can define how quickly it's going to open profiles. I can define how many profiles it's going to visit per day, how many connection requests it'll send per day, and how many direct messages, as in first degree messages or in-mails it will send. All of this allows me to have complete control. You know, if I just start my Dux Soup icon, my Dux Soup robot off against a list of 1,000 profiles, for example, this will stop me from visiting 1,000 profiles in a day, because I think I might get a warning from LinkedIn if I tried to do that. I'm actually going to run it a little bit quicker just so we can see some data while I'm sitting here. The additional safety feature that we've got is that Dux Soup will listen out for if I get the pop-up from LinkedIn to say you're out of invites. We have that invitation limit pop-up checker. And then additionally, we also have a planner function, which allows me to define when I'm happy for the robot to run. So if I set off the robot, for example, today at 10 o'clock in the morning, it would run for an hour and then it would snooze for 3 hours while I'm probably busy manually doing stuff on LinkedIn. This is kind of important if you're doing lots of lead gen activity. You don't want to be doing automated actions at the same time as you're doing manual actions. So this gives you some opportunities to, select times in the day when you want to be manually active on LinkedIn, and times when you're happy for the robot to do stuff on your behalf. So we've turned off everything apart from tagging, and we're going to do some following. I'm going to go back to my list here. Oh, I think it's going to skip a couple because they've not got profile photos either, so we'll see that hopefully work as well. If I now click here and I just say, right, go and visit those profiles, you'll see here that Dux Soup's now going to see it in action. And this is available in Pro and Turbo as well, but this is predominantly effectively watching the Pro version running. The Turbo version gives you all those campaign possibilities as well. We see now the Dux Soup's opening up that profile in the bottom right-hand corner. It's visiting Hans's profile. It's gathering some data there. It's now going to presumably give me the notification that it's going to follow him, and it's also going to add that tag, that label that I gave it against that particular profile. If I'd asked it to send a connection request as well, it would do that as well. There you are. It's following a profile and it's tagged in with, well, I gave him a test, just a test label there. And what we'll see now is it'll close that profile and then move on to the next profile and carry on according to my throttling settings there. Now, as long as I keep Chrome open, it's now going to just continue to tick its way through this list here. I could go back to my slides and do something else here. For example, I could go and do some other work. Chrome has to remain open because Dux Soup is mimicking those mouse clicks on the screen. And that's how we can then get Dux Soup to do our chosen activities. If I minimize Chrome now, then Dux Soup will snooze. It'll go to sleep because it can't mimic those mouse clicks. It's something to be aware of. You can shrink the size of your window down to something a bit smaller. It doesn't have to be there. It can be in the background as well. But you'll see here now it's opened the next profile there. And while it's doing that, it's also storing me a load of data as well about each profile as it opens them up. And we'll come on to downloading data and what we can do with that data and how we can even get Turbo to automatically handle that data in part 2 of this series of webinars. So we'll stop the robot there rather than leaving it to run for too long. But that's essentially what you can see there, Dux Soup running there against this particular list. Mention a couple of other lists as well. So we had lists of people here who have reacted to a post. If we just go and do a quick search, I could do a search for, let's do that a second. Let's do a people search in regular LinkedIn. Oh, I thought I'd stop the robot. There we go. If we go to a people search here, there we go. So this here is a people list. I think the robot's now stopped. There we go. So this is a list of people that Dux Soup can run against. I could do this also in Sales Navigator. I could go to Sales Navigator search here. If I just go to a saved search here, let's go to a saved search that I've done before. Similarly, I could run Dux Soup against this list here. And again, I just have to wait for the Dux Soup icon to turn green, say at your service, and then I can get it to carry out my chosen activity. Sometimes takes a little bit longer for it to pick up that it's a saved. There we go. It's just flicked up there. The little icon that you see, the widget you see appearing there on the right is a Turbo feature. That's part of Turbo. That's the enrollment actions that you have available to you. That's not available in Pro. But yeah, that's another list. Another example would be, let's have a think. Let's go to a company page. This is another list you can run it against. We go to a company page. And if we go to the people list here, we go to the people, and we'll wait for this to load. Then I could add my filters in here, but essentially this here is also a list of profiles that Dux Soup can run against. So there's all sorts of options there. Use those filters, use those searching and filter options. What I would advise, and these are a couple of the sort of, should we say, the well-used blog posts. If you go to our homepage, duxsoup.com, and you go to our resources section at the top here, and we can look at the blogs. There are two particular blog posts which I always point people towards. The first one is this one, searching and filtering. This one here is incredibly useful. The searching and filtering masterclass. It gives you all the options and goes through how you can maximize the different searching and filter options available within both regular LinkedIn and Sales Navigator, and indeed Recruiter, how to use Boolean search, etc., etc. And then the other one is, let me try and find it. I think it's, yeah, using LinkedIn lists. So this gives you an idea of all the different lists that you can use with Dux Soup to help you maximize your options. We're always looking at how we can expand the lists that are available, because they're always, LinkedIn are changing the list. Sometimes they're playing around with it. They're changing some of the HTML there. So we're always looking at how we can improve this and what different lists there are that we can run against. So this here also gives you those examples that I've just been through there, shared connections, etc., etc. So those are two really popular blog posts it's worth having a look at if you're starting out with lead generation, so you can understand how can you create the best list possible by doing a search or filtering, and what lists you can run Dux Soup against there. I'm just conscious of the time. Let's go back to my slides. Slideshow. Please don't take me back to the beginning. There we go. That's good. So we've been through various things here on the demo. We've talked through all the actions there. In 2 weeks' time, Tuesday the 1st of November, will be November already, part 2. And in part 2, I'm going to be talking about, you know, how we construct those lists, how we connect with prospects and messaging them with impact. We're going to be talking about automated campaigns with Turbo, how we can track and monitor those campaigns, and a little bit about data as well. So hopefully we'll be unlocking some more of those lead generation LinkedIn automation tricks for you to give you a way forward. Jin, do we have any questions?
At the moment, we do not have any questions, but let's wait for a couple of minutes.
We've done an information overload, have we? And everyone's too busy paying attention to the content to have too many questions, but that's okay. Just while we're hopefully waiting for a few questions to come in, or if there are maybe there aren't any. You are able to book basically consultation calls with us here at Dux Soup by either booking a booster session or a technical session. As you can see, they're paid for. You have dedicated resource available for 1 hour to go through, help you set up your lead generation activities, maybe help you with your strategies, defining what your campaigns might be, or helping build an integration with Zapier or Make maybe. This is all available through our support pages, and I don't often show this, so I'll take this opportunity just to show you. Here, if you go to support.dux-soup.com, it's also available from our homepage. You just go to our homepage and you press the support button here. This is where effectively you have what we call our knowledge base articles. They're all available here on our support pages. Lots of how-tos and explanations. If you have any questions, there's a good search function as well, and a live chat with our fabulous support team. That's always available as well if you've got questions there. So do make use of this. It's sometimes I speak to people like, oh, I didn't know they had a support page as well. Of course we've got a support page and our amazing support team backing it up as well. And while I've been talking, Jen, any questions come in?
Yeah, we have quite a few now.
Cool.
So the first question would be, do you have best practice to set up lists to browse for profiles to visit?
Best practices for defining lists. So that blog post that I just referred to, if you use that blog post, this one here, the search and filtering masterclass, find people who are, use what's in here to define who you're looking for. It depends on your strategy as well. Some people, for example, just want to visit profiles, in which case you have a more, you don't need to define your list so specifically, but if you're wanting to send connection requests to people, define your list properly using the search functions with the industry, where they've worked, where they're located, those sorts of things. Use the keyword search and Boolean. I'm not going to spend too much time on that because it was almost an entire webinar in itself, the searching and filtering masterclass. Use these functions here, like this one here, to narrow down your criteria for searching for people, and then build your messaging, if you're reaching out for new connections, around how you found them. You're looking for finance professionals, for example, and you write a message around, I don't know, IT or I don't know. Then you want to build a message and a structure of your messaging around how you found them. So hopefully the message resonates with those targets. So have a look at this have a look at this blog post, the filtering and searching masterclass, and also the different types of lists, because there may be standard lists. Group lists, group membership is a really good place to go. If you've got Sales Navigator, you can search a group without being a member of it. Otherwise, if you're in regular LinkedIn, you've got to be a member of a group to see the population. Go and search what groups there are. If there are people with certain interests, you can immediately use that as part of your messaging to hopefully resonate with them and get a positive reaction. So that's what I would advise regarding constructing your lists.
Thank you. One user is asking, will you explain more about the messaging function and follow-up messages in the second webinar? Absolutely,
but if you want, I can give you a quick preview now if we've got a few seconds. So if you've got Turbo, you've got the Turbo version of Dux Soup. If we click on our Dux Soup icon up here and we go down to our Dux Dash, we're up to the latest version 8.4 that was released this morning, my time. So here we go into our Dux Dash. This is where we can go in to define our campaigns. Very briefly, because I'll do this a bit more at the next webinar. We go to our left-hand side, we've got the drip campaigns option here. This is where we go to define our campaigns. And if I just take this example here, this webinar demo example, what we can see here is that we have a connection request for this campaign. So if I enroll somebody in webinar demo, they will get my, and they're a second or third degree connection. Let's point that one out first. They'll get my connection request using the marker, a hi _FN_. They'll get my connection request. And then as and when they accept my connection request, hopefully they do, then all of these activities then are queued up. So I've got follow-up one day after they've connected, they'll get this message. 6 days afterwards, they'll get this message. 9 days after that, they'll get this message, and so on and so forth. And what you may have, those who are paying attention may see that we now have some other activities available in our campaigns. So I can now add not just a follow-up message, I can add an endorsement activity or just an auto visit to my campaign. So you can see here, I've got I've got follow-up messages going through after 45 days. I've got 5 follow-up messages, and then I've got a visit that's scheduled and an endorsement that's scheduled as well. So we now have those abilities there to be able to trigger other activities in our campaign. So that's how a campaign looks. We'll look at this in more detail in webinar number 2, but that hopefully gives you a little taster there as to how that looks. We'll look at the funnel flow and the fact that Dux Soup stops messages after somebody posts messages you back. But that's what a campaign looks like.
Thank you. Another question. How does it work if your profile has multiple languages?
How does it work if you're... that's a good question, because my profile doesn't have multiple languages. Yeah, I don't know what the settings are regarding multiple languages, so I don't have an answer to that. So yeah, that's one we'll have to take away. Unless you know, Jin.
I think Dux Soup runs on the language that you switch it to.
Your default
so,
language, I guess
yes.
I assume that there's a default language defined, and therefore it runs from there. But yeah, maybe that's something we just need to double check.
Thank you. Give me 1 second, please.
No problems. Yeah, that's the date, time and date. If you want to register for part 2, it's already available on the website. You can go in there, register, and yeah, even if you can't attend, you will get the recording, but you can always go and find it on the website later. Anything further, Jin?
Yes, some people asking when we will have a webinar focused on drip campaigns.
Drip campaign webinar. That's something that we can have a look at now that we've got some new features there. We will be reviewing our webinar schedule. I think the next time we're doing that is next week or the week after. So yeah, we have a schedule planned out. At the moment, we only advertise 1 ahead, but we will make sure that we put that into the schedule so that people can have that information available. We have done them in the past. Let me have a think. Again, if we go to our homepage and we go to our webinars here, sure, we've done. Somewhere in here we have done campaigns in here before. Yeah, we've definitely done campaigns before, but it's something that we should well, maybe if we just type in turbo, that might give me the answer. So yeah, we've got various ones here that we can have a look at, and yeah, converting LinkedIn connections to customers. So we talked about campaigns in that one there that we did back in September. Yeah, back in January we did another one, enrolling prospects into campaigns. March, we covered it then, but we've now updated the campaign, so it is something that we will revisit in the near future.
Thank you very much. That's it from me for today. Thank you very much.
Yeah, we've done the questions, we've done the booster and technical calls. Just leaves for me to say thank you to everybody for joining us today. We've overrun a little bit, but not by too much, hopefully, and hopefully there was a good information for everybody there. And in 2 weeks' time, yeah, we'll be doing part 2. So hopefully you can join us then. I'll leave it to Jin to sign us off.
Thank you everyone so much for joining us today, and hopefully we will see you on the next webinar. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.